Hello, welcome to RC Video Reviews. Tonight we're taking a look at the Hitec AD380. This is a brand new discharger by Hitec, and it is not publicly available yet. This is a pre-release. It'll be out in the retail channel soon. So with that said, I don't have pricing details for you. Can't tell you exactly how much this one's going to cost, but I can point you to the Hitec website, and you can keep an eye out there for information on the release for this discharger. So we're going to do, we're going to go into specs. I'm going to show you some of the features, but I've got a little experiment set up for you, and I wanted to get right into the meat of the material. Bottom line, this is a 380 watt discharger. I've got a voltmeter connected. This is a Fluke 87.5, and this is this is just a generic current meter. But a lot of the other channels are going to show you the screen and put it on a scale and all that stuff. I'm going to show you how it works. Because I like to know that things do what they say they're going to do. So I'm going to start with that, and I'm going to show you right off the bat. One of the very cool features about this device is it supports Bluetooth and an app. So in the thumbnail I said brains and brawn, and the reason for that is because we've got a Bluetooth app now that lets us control the discharger, and you don't have to use the Bluetooth app. You can use it just off the discharger alone, just by using the keys. That's fine. But the Bluetooth app I thought was really cool because it lets us change the modes very easily and set the parameters and start and monitor what's going on. So you don't have to sit right in front of it. You can just connect your battery and, go sit on the couch, watch some RC video reviews, and play with your discharger. I'm glad Fred's not here. That's all I can say. So anyway, we're going to start out by reviewing the modes. First, there's constant current, constant power, constant resistance, and constant voltage. I'm going to cover the constant voltage in a little bit, but they say in the guide, don't use that one when you have a battery connected. So I'll cover what I like. I guess what I like to do is cover the power and the resistance first. You can do current. Everyone kind of understands that. Like right now it's highlighted, and I've got the current set to 40, but understand it respects Ohm's law. So volts times amps is watts. It's only 380 watts divided by your voltage. That's the max amperage you're going to get. So on a 25 volt battery, 17, 18-ish amps is what we're going to get. So it doesn't matter if you set that to 40. It's not going to do it. The limitation is your wattage, so 380 watts. So with that in mind, one thing we can do is set the resistance to 1. So remember Ohm's law, we set the resistance to 1. That'll also facilitate our wattage output, right? So it'll basically pegs it and says, hey, just max this out. And we can set our cutoff voltage. I've got mine set to 22.5. I'll hit confirm. Yeah, 22.5 is good. That's about 3.8, somewhere in there. 22.5. Let's just check my work real quick. 22.5 times 6. That's 22.5 times 6. I'm sorry, 22.5 divided by 6, or 375. Okay, 3.75 volts per cell. That's where that's going to cut off. So I'm just going to hit start. And when I do that, we're going to start discharging. So there's the readout from the device. You can see 26.5 volts. The current's climbing, and it should climb. It should climb up. I have it set to 1 ohm, right? 1 ohm. Oh no, for some reason it went to 88. Let's set that back to 1. It needs to be at 1. So we'll confirm. Now we'll start. And now we should see the amperage climb up. There we go. Now we're seeing it. I don't know how I did that. I missed it. I must have touched the screen accidentally. So 25 volts. I'm seeing about 14, 15 amps on the app, and you can see the power level 379.8, the capacity taken out, the cutoff voltage is set, and my time limit. The time limit's a safety factor. So now let's check the work, right? Because to me that's really important. It's to check the work. So you can see on my current meter I'm seeing 15.5 times 25.75. So I'm going to do that math real quick. We're going to do 25.75 times 15.59, and that gives me 401 watts. So at that discharge rate, based on what I'm seeing with my meters, we're exceeding the levels on the app a little bit. So voltage 25.45, I'm seeing 25.7 on the Fluke, and then for current, the app is telling me 14.9, and I'm seeing 15.6 on the current meter. So that's where we're seeing a little, that's where we're getting the extra wattage. But, you know, at the end of the day, it does what it says it's going to do, right? So it's 380 watts. It's certainly exceeding that. So you can see it right here on the app. It's claiming 380 watts right there. So that's a win, right? That's a win. So I'll stop that. And then we'll do, we can do constant power too. So we can flip that over, and let's say we just want to hold a steady, you know, 200 watts. We can do that. We can say, let's just park this at 200 watts. Scroll up there to 200 and then hit confirm and start. And this would be good if you wanted to validate that throughout the cycle of your battery, you can deliver your demand wattage to a point. Now, you have to keep in mind for very large models, you know, like raw 700s or 78-inch planes, you know, you're talking, you know, a couple thousand watts. So in that case, that wouldn't be a very good test for the battery. But certainly in smaller models, this would be a valid way to validate that your power delivery, your battery can hold that wattage level independent of the current and voltage that the battery is seeing. So 200 watts, just holding that steady. And what'll happen is as the voltage drops, the current will rise. That's what will happen. Voltage will come down, current will go up. And by the way, if you're wondering, I have the battery that we're using is my battery bank. So it's a 100 amp hour battery bank, which means I can basically do anything I want to it. Plenty of juice for this kind of testing. No issues. All right. So that's that. That's the constant power mode. And now let's do constant current. And in this one, you could set it at 40, but what's going to happen is it's going to just peg at about, you know, 15 amps, give or take. So I'm just going to lower it. We'll set it, I'll tell you what, just to see, we'll set it at 12 amps. All right, we'll set it at 12 amps. And let's just say that's where, you know, whatever your battery is, that's where we want to discharge is 12 amps. You hit select and start. And there you go. So what we should see is 12 amps right there on the app. And that's what I'm seeing, 12 amps. A little minor fluctuation, but that's fine. That's acceptable. And now what you'll see, because we're holding amperage constant, you'll see fluctuations in voltage and power, right? Because we're holding this number steady. Okay, there's 12 amps. So there we go. Now, again, you're not supposed to use constant voltage when you're connected to a battery source. We'll flip over and take a look at that now. So that's the app. And all I can tell you on the app real fast, when you download the app, it's the Hitec. Let me get the name of it for you. It's called the, let's see, will the camera pick that one up? Hitec Link Pro. It's actually Hitec Link Power. Link Power is what it's called, Hitec Link Power. So once you pick that up and you turn it on, once you plug the device in, you'll see it pop up right here. You don't even have to pair it. It just pops up. And then you click on it, and the app should launch, and you'll have access to control the discharger. The other device that you saw there was the charger. I'm not doing the review on the charger tonight. We're going to do that a little bit later. All right, we'll do that in another video. This is just for the discharger only. That's what we're focused on. Okay, so there you go. There's the app, a couple of different modes on the app that you can use. Now I want to go over some specs. I'm going to bring up the Blackboard real quick, and I'm going to talk a little bit about specs, and I want to go through these modes. So from a specification standpoint, I've already mentioned 380 watts. It supports 3 to 30 volts in and 6 to 30 volts out, and it weighs about 2.43 pounds. Obviously, you saw the Bluetooth app working, and it does work with a couple of their chargers. We're going to cover that in just a little bit. There's a desktop app that you can use to do things like cycling. But the chargers that are supported by this device are the RDX2 800 and the RDX2 1000. Again, we'll cover one of those in just a minute. I'm going to show you how it works on the desktop app. But here's the warning. I just really wanted to point this out to you and make sure everyone understood this. And frankly, I'm really not sure why they would put that mode in there on equal footing with the other modes if this is a risk. So it says, in CV mode, the BD380 provides a stable voltage output despite changes in current or resistance. This mode is commonly used to highlight the maintenance of a constant voltage level, ensuring devices operate within their optimal range while adapting current flow. Never connect a battery in CV mode. That's the warning. All right, that's the warning. So I just wanted to mention that to make sure you're aware of that one. I'm not really sure why they have that mode if there's a real risk, or why that mode is easily available if there's a real risk. So frankly, I'm not really even sure what that mode's for. So if you know, leave a comment. Let's hear it. Let's hear what your thoughts are. Whoops, that was the wrong button to press. Let's go back to the text and we'll go down to the next mode. That's constant power mode. We covered that one. In the power mode, that's where we set the wattage level that we wanted. And it allows the BD380 to deliver a constant power output irrespective of variations of voltage or current, which is what I said during the demo. And then the constant resistance mode, same deal, constant resistance, simulating devices with fixed resistance characteristics. So that way the resistance doesn't change. You can nail it in and say, hey, if I put 2 ohms on this, what happens during discharge? So you can see that. And then the constant current mode, that's obvious. Set the current level where you want it, and that's what you get. So that's it for the specs and the modes. Pretty simple stuff. Again, if you know what's up with that constant voltage mode thing, let me know in the comments, because I really don't know why you'd use that, and I'm really not sure why it'd be on a LiPo discharger. Not sure. So the Bluetooth app, super cool. That's a super cool thing. But if you're a data nerd, yeah, hold my beer. So here's what I'm going to do on this. I'm going to bring up another window, and the other window is my Windows computer, and I have it connected, but I have to rearrange. All right, so I'm going to rearrange. I think we've proven out what we need to see on the meter. It's very close, right? It's off just a little bit, but very close. So I'm going to take the meter and set the meter aside, because honestly, we just don't need that anymore. And so I really need the desktop room to show you the next thing. Okay. Just have to do a little bit of rearranging here. And again, I want to thank Hitec for sending this unit out for review. This is a sponsored video. Hitec contacted, well, actually, I contacted Hitec at Joe Nall. That's what happened. And while I was at Joe Nall, I went up and we talked for a little while. We were on the 3D flight line. We were just kind of kibitzing a little bit. I started telling them about my YouTube channel, and they said, "Oh, really? That's cool." And after that, we just chatted. You know, we just talked a little bit about some of the new things that Hitec is doing, both with servos and with chargers and dischargers. And I said, you know, he said, "Hey, would you be interested in taking a look at some of our new equipment?" And I said, "Yep, I absolutely would love to do that." So that's what happened. Now, what I have to do is I can't use my battery bank for this because it doesn't have a balanced charger. I was thinking about using this little 1800, but it's too small, and it's also not charged. This one has a little bit of a charge on it, and I can hit it a little bit for the demo. So all I'm doing at this point, guys, to reset the workstation here, is letting you know. Let me switch over to the big camera. Let's do the big camera, and let me show you what's going on here. The Hitec RDX2 800 has a data port right here on the side, and this data port allows you to connect this data cable and this mains cable on the side of the charger, and then you take the other end and you plug it in on the discharger. And basically what's going on here is you're controlling the discharger through the app, which is instructing the charger of what to do. Okay, so that's what's going on here. And the discharge, when we tell the charger to perform a discharge, it's actually going to take the load off the battery and it's going to dump it into the discharger. Okay, so for me, when I think about this type of arrangement, I think about a bench setup. Obviously, this is not something you'd really want to haul around to the field. That's pretty substantial, right? That's pretty big. I don't know that I would haul that to the field. Maybe, if you're going to have a full day or go multi-day event or something, maybe you'd want to do that. That might make sense. But for me, this would be something that I would set up on my bench at home, and that's it. Now, I do have a little bit of a critique here, and that's this. I don't understand why they did that. I'll never understand from a UX perspective why they don't look at that wire and say that belongs right here. I just don't understand why they don't do that. It's a little, I don't know. like they did it here, right? They put these two right next to each other. I just don't know why they didn't do something similar with this side. But so that's a little bit of a gripe, but it's just a gripe. That's a nitpick. All right, so there's the setup. Now on the back, I've got my power source, and on the front, I've got a 6-cell 4000. All right, now what I'm going to do is switch over to the desktop, and I've got the application already running, and that is connected, by the way, with this USB-C port right here to the desktop. Okay, so this USB-C goes into your computer. I did not have to install any drivers, it just worked. And the software, it's called Charge Manager. It's available in the manual for this device. There's links in the manual, so if you get it, the link is in there. And you can download the Charge Manager software. And you can also see that when I'm connected, it says AD350, which is the generation just slightly older than this one, but it does recognize there's an external charger connected. All right, so what I'm going to do, another thing that I learned while tinkering with this, to use the external load for your discharge, your battery needs to be on port A. It did not seem to care for it being on port B. In other words, in the application, when I had the battery on port B, I couldn't come in here and set my cell count to 6. And then, let's see, I'll set LiPo. No, I'll set LiPo. We'll do cell count to 6, and I'm going to set discharge. And see, I can only bring the current up to 2 amps, right? 2 amps, that's it. So on port B, that's all I was able to do. However, on port A, when we go into the profile by clicking this little square, we can set it to LiPo. We can set it to 6 cells and then set to discharge. And watch this. I'll drag the slider all the way over there, all the way to 40 amps. And then again, it's not going to do that. So we don't, there's no point in even bothering. So we could just set it at whatever. We'll do 15 amps. How's that? Let's see if there's 15 amps. And now I'm just going to hit OK. And then when I hit start, what's going to happen is the software is going to direct the charger. Hey, you need to do a discharge. The charger understands that it's got an external bank, so it's going to run that load into this external bank. And you can see right here on the screen, I'll flip over to the big screen so you can see it real quick. Right there, you can see we've got that 15 amps going on. All right, and that's being controlled by the desktop app through the charger to the discharger. I'm not touching the charger to do that. So there we go, back to the application, and you can see exactly what's going on. You can see the voltage right here on the bottom. You can see the current. I'm going to turn off the camera, and you can see the wattage. 342 watts is where we are right now. The watt hours extracted, and the temperature of the system plus the time. And here's your cell voltage over here on the side. That's one of the things I really like about this arrangement, is this is one of the first ones that I know where you can add a very heavy load and still get cell balancing with that heavy discharge rate. And again, that's if we reflect back to the thumbnail, it said brains and brawn. This is why, right? Because now we're able to monitor our individual cells on the way down. Okay. So this, again, this is an RDX2 800. Be careful if you're buying chargers and you want this kind of arrangement to work. There are only 2 chargers that are identified in the manual at this time that work in this mode. It's the RDX2 800, which is the little one that is here on the desktop, and it's the RDX2 1000. That's the other one that also has the data port for the discharger. Okay, I think that's probably it in terms of the tour and the capabilities of this device. Now I'm going to give you a little tour of the box. Now that we've done all the electronics, we've done the measurements, we've done the specs, you've seen the app work, you've seen the Bluetooth work. Now I'm going to show you the box itself, which is in its most simple format. Okay, so I'm going to stop the discharge here, and we can wrap this up. We can actually close that, and I'm going to go back to the big camera. And now I'm just going to disconnect all this stuff because we don't need this anymore. We're done. We're done with the charger. And probably is not a great idea to disconnect power from these right after it's been discharged because you're going to have some heat soak. So it's probably not a great idea to do that. But it's brand new, so I'm going to break it in. I'm going to give it the infant mortality test. So now all I've done, I've disconnected everything, and now we're back to like the simplest mode possible, right? Simple mode. This is standalone mode. There's nothing else connected to this discharger right now. All I've got is a battery. This is the simple old-fashioned way of doing things with a discharger. So with the battery connected, what I'm going to show you, let me see. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and see if I can get a better look at that screen. No, that's not going to cooperate, huh? I can see that it looks washed out. Let me see. There we go. Can you guys see that? CC mode. I'll tell you what I can do. I'm going to long press the button, the jog dial here, and I'm going to turn that LCD backlight down to low. We'll see what happens. And we'll go back. There you go. Now you can see it. How about that? It was effective. So there's constant current mode. If you want to change the modes, you simply press the jog dial and you long press the jog dial. All right, come on. Come on, discharger, work with me here. Oh, you know what? I bet it's because I have Bluetooth connected. I wonder if that's what it is. Let me turn the Bluetooth off. It's not reacting. And I'm going to unplug this real quick and then plug it back in. There it is. Now it's blinking. See that? Okay, so CV mode, that's the constant voltage mode. That's the one I warned you against. Don't use that. And then we'll scroll up, and that's constant power mode, and that's constant resistance mode, and then there is back to constant current mode. So if we go to resistance mode, we can click there, and notice after I set that, the option for resistance is down here at the bottom. So I can change the resistance using the scroll wheel, and let's say I'll just set it to, I don't know, 6 ohms. And then if I press it again, I'll use, again, 22.5. And then you have the option of setting the discharge time, safety factor. And if you don't want to do that, you just press the button again. And I think at this point, I'm just going to leave that blinking. I think at this point we can press the start button, and there it goes. It starts discharge. You press and hold the button, and it'll start the discharge. And you can see I've got it set at 6 ohms. And we're discharging at about 3.8 amps. And then you can stop it just by long pressing the button again. So there you go. That's a tour of operating the AD380 in manual mode. All right, now we're getting down to brass tacks. We're going to finish this one up. So I really wanted to give you guys a look at the construction because it made an impression on me. I don't want to take it apart just yet. I want to use it for a little while to make sure there's no infant mortality. I just want to make sure I don't screw something up taking it apart. But you can see if you need to get inside, 4 screws right here. And then there's 4 screws right here, and then there's a fan. The fan connection is right there. But I did want to show you guys the heat sink. So there, right down there in the bottom is the circuitry and the control board. And then you can see the big copper heat pipes and a huge heat sink going up both sides. One of those, it looks like a CPU heat sink, honestly, for a big computer. And then there's the fan up top, the 120 millimeter fan. And then on the back, I mentioned the USB-C. There is a USB-C port. That is not for data. That's basically for firmware upgrades. I kind of thought I'd be able to plug this in and use it to monitor a discharge on this device directly on the software, but it didn't work. I'll keep messing with it just to make sure I didn't miss something, but it didn't work. The only thing that I found out that that's good for is firmware upgrades so far. All right, so there you go. That's the AD380. I'm going to check real quick. Okay, CV mode, it acts as a power supply. You shouldn't attach a battery. Yeah, we covered that. So we definitely should not attach a battery. I really, to me, that's a very odd thing to put a power supply in a discharger. I guess, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I guess, I don't know, whatever. I'll just leave it alone. It's not something I would think about doing, using a discharger for a power supply. But anyway, that's the AD380. Again, this is pre-release, so keep an eye out on the Hitec website. And again, I'd like to thank Hitec for sending this out for review. I will be utilizing this device, and I can tell you for large stick packs, 12S packs, helicopter packs, even 6S5000s, you know, it's a lot of power to be able to bring them down. The last one I have, I think, peaks out at 280, so this is a full 100 watts stronger than my last device. So it's kind of nice to be able to see, you know, improvements in the capabilities out there in the hardware. Got to give Hitec credit for bringing this one out. And I'll also point out, too, in case you weren't aware, and it's not lost on me, the relationship between Hitec and SkyRC. So somebody will inevitably come in comments and say it's a SkyRC, and that's true. If you go out and look, this is basically an OEM version of the SkyRC, which is also out there with a 380-watt version of a discharger that looks almost identical. They're very, very close. So it's very clear that they sourced this from SkyRC, which is fine. You know, there's a lot of that goes on in this business. So, you know, no harm, no foul. But I'm sure that they were involved in at least saying what parameters they wanted or what they wanted the device to do and how they wanted it to perform and which of their other devices they wanted it to work with. So at any rate, that's it. That's all I've got on the AD380. Keep an eye out on the Hitec website if you'd like to get one for yourself. Thanks for watching. I'll remind you, if you like this kind of content, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when new videos hit the channel. That's all I've got for today. Take it easy and go fly something.